Hey guys, welcome to Life Estate, where we're real people doing real things in real estate, strengthening the community through equity and assets, one door at a time. I wanted to come on here and answer a few questions that I've been seeing come through, and I wanted to try to connect with you and answer any questions you may have. The one thing that I'll say about this business is you really have to engage. My dad once told me, he said, and my dad was my eighth grade science teacher, by the way, but he said to all of us as kids, he said, if you want something, you have to eat, sleep, and breathe it. So I took that as, getting fully involved into a thing. What are you getting up in the morning looking at? What are you reading? What are you doing to work on your mental state to get to a place where you're switching your mindset and you're moving into a transitional space to where you can get full execution on this thing? Real estate is not an easy business. It requires consistency. I can tell you that if there's a day that goes by and you're looking at a particular market and one day you don't look to see what's out there new in the market, or you don't have alerts set and you look it up and you see that something's sold or contingent, it's not going to feel good. Happened to me this week. I didn't look at one of the cities out of the state where I buy, and there was a new multifamily that came up, and it was already contingent. I called the agent. She called me back the next day, and she said, "Yeah, I've got a contract on that one." So you have to be consistent to consistently win at this game. So the one thing, I've been in a program lately because I believe that you should always continuously strive to learn and learn new things, but it's been about extreme execution. So I've been trying to set myself up so that I can be more effective in what I do and communicate more clearly uh, in business, and communicate more clearly with buyers, communicate more clearly with contractors. That's very important. It's very important to learn how to convey your message, and then learning how to work with different people uh, in aspects of this business. Learning how to identify and speak to agents about what you may be looking for. You need to learn salesmanship so that you know how to sell yourself to that buyer. You know how to sell yourself to that agent that's going to be there to probably bring you leads. Want to know how to sell yourself in case you want to JV with someone that might have a property out of state. So generally, real estate, we talk about it as being a people's business. So that's what it is, because you're going to have to communicate with someone at some point. You're not always going to be able to do it by texts and emails. You're going to have to talk to someone on the phone. You may even have to talk to someone in person to get these deals done and contracts signed. So what I try to do is try to work on those areas so that when the time comes, I have those tools in my tool bag that if I need to reach for them, they're there for me. So, got a question here. Oh, where are you located? I'm located in the Dallas Metroplex area. Yeah, North Dallas. So the real estate market here is still steady. I'm seeing houses that are staying a little bit longer on the market here. It's still very competitive. There are more deals coming up. Prices are getting slightly lower. We'll probably go out and I'll probably make a video of some areas that's building outside of downtown Dallas, where there are older communities merging with new development. That was just in the news that I saw today. They're building more modern houses in an older historic neighborhood. I'm not quite sure what the answer is there yet, but there's some contention between the older neighborhood folks and the new development people that are coming in, because they're maximizing the square footage in those lots by building all the way out to the edges of the lot, and they're building 2 and 3 stories tall in these properties, and they look great. It's wonderful. But where's the happy medium in that for the people that are there? How do you make that work for everybody? It'll be interesting. I thought about it. I haven't found the answer yet. But yeah, let's see. Okay, your first real estate deal. My first real estate deal was approximately 20 years ago. It was a little two-bedroom house. I bought it for $17,500. I found it in what we used to call a bulletin board. So there was a circular that went out every 2 weeks, maybe. Had different things listed in them. Yeah, it was paper, no computer stuff. But I found it. I called the guy, and we did the deal. It needed some light rehab work. I got it financed through a local finance company. It wasn't a bank or credit union. I think they used private money to loan to people. When they gave me the loan, they gave me actually the money to fix the property up. They also gave me a little bit of cash out up front because the house was actually worth about 56,000, but the price was only 17.5, and I believe, as I recall, I spent less than $5,000 to fix that house up. But the issue with that house was I didn't screen the tenant properly, and they conked out on me after about the fourth month. And I ended up going to the property and found it vacated and trashed and garbage in it. So that's one thing I learned from that deal, is to definitely screen your tenants when you get in these properties, especially if you're doing something like a BRRRR strategy, where you're buying, rehabbing, renting, and refinancing and repeating it. Yes, I think BRRRR is a good strategy for right now. What you want to make sure to do with a BRRRR right now, and with anything, a good deal is a good deal. A good deal is always going to be a good deal. But with the BRRRR strategy, especially with prices softening and declining a little bit, you want to make sure that you get that property at least 80%, and this is in all cases 70 to 80% below after repair value. Be able to buy it for that. I wouldn't go into it for much more than that. And if you cash out, don't cash out more than 80. Depending on what the price of the house is, you may go 85. But in a market like this where prices may de-escalate, you don't want to catch yourself in a situation where you can't refinance out of that house, or worse, you end up upside down in a property because you've pulled too much equity out. When I look for BRRRRs, or when I look for my buy and hold properties, I usually try to buy in areas where maybe a downtown area is meeting a suburban area, and there are properties that fall along a line where on one street the houses may be 78, 75,000, and then the next street over there $250,000. So I try to find those lines where they are. I try to also find a property that I can add value to. So if I can add a bathroom somewhere under the square footage of the property, where I don't have to, go through building codes and things like that to actually add square footage outside of the footprint of the house. If I can add a bathroom within the footprint, if I can add a bedroom within the footprint of the house, those are value adds that I've been most successful at doing when I've made a real estate play. Because if you can take a house from a 3.1 to a 3.2, which I just did on one I bought in a garden district, that's going to add value. I have added bedrooms before, turning a house from a 3.2 to a 4.2. The house had a large, huge den on the back and a bathroom off of the den. So I paid a minimal amount of money to have a wall just put up and then a door put in, and that turned into a bedroom with a bathroom and a master, and still had a full bath on the outside for the other 3 bedrooms. And plus the garage had also been enclosed, so which could have easily added a 4th bedroom to that property. So those things are value adds to where you're taking the property from where it is and you're moving it up in the neighborhood. So now it's in another bracket. So easily another bedroom can bring you, depending on where it is, at least another $10,000, or a bathroom another $10,000 to $15,000, just depending on what the neighborhood is and how the other properties are situated in that neighborhood. Mm-hmm. Do I Section 8 properties? Yes, I do have properties that are in the Section 8 or housing assistance program. During the pandemic, I bought 3 properties, I think second year into the pandemic during lockdown. So I retained 2 and then I flipped 1. I did 1 on Section 8 of those particular properties that I bought at the time. And then I did 1 Airbnb on the other property. And I still have those properties. Still have tenants in those. I have multiple tenants, but those were 2 that I did. I purchased a house for $7,500. I put about 15,000 or so in it, and right now it's being rented for like $850 a month. But I went the Section 8 route with most of my properties because I didn't want to get caught in the moratorium piece that was imposed when people were having to be removed from properties. So since these were getting done, I wasn't moving anybody out to do this. It was just the first time somebody was going to inhabit the property since we had it renovated. So it was just easier to go that route to make sure, that rents were paid. I haven't had any problems with the Section 8 tenants that I try to vet them out after my first experience with a rental property. So I usually will try to vet the people out pretty good. And I have not had a problem yet. Have to find some wood to knock on. But it's been good. The people that are there usually end up paying just a portion of what they actually owe. So if the rent's $850, the person living in the property might pay $150, and then the rest of it is paid by the government, 4th of the month, every 4th. And that particular one is $700 a month. So right now, what am I getting? Okay, on where I am doing that business at, this particular one is in Alabama, so it's out of state. So right now, 2 ones are going for $850 and 3 ones or 3 twos, but they usually just count the 1 bathroom, are going for right around $1,200 to $1,300. So right now, the Section 8 rents are above market rents. They're 10 to 15% above what people are paying on market rents right now. And it's been good. And then you're providing a good place for people that need a good place to stay. Okay. What do I do? Do I get? Oh yeah, me and I have 2 sons. I have 3 sons, but 2 that are here at the house. But we participate in Habitat for Humanity, and so we'll probably make a video and go out when we go out on some of those projects, so that you can see what we do when we go out to work with Habitat for Humanity. So that's how we give back. Section 8 Habitat, and we're doing some things with nonprofits right now. I have a passion project that I want to get done for veterans. There's one here local that provides housing, and it's like almost like a tiny house village, but it's for veterans. And some veterans out there homeless. I was in the Army before. I have at one time not had a place to stay myself, but luckily I had an office and a gym to where I could go, so I was sustained. Yeah. But that's one of my passion projects, is to give back and do some tiny house developments for veterans or less fortunate people as well. What do you need? Getting into wholesale. Getting into wholesale is good. It's a tough business. You have to be consistent in it. It doesn't take much money For me, you get into wholesale when you want to amass capital. So if you need to get money and get your money built up, you need to wholesale. If you don't have a lot of money to invest or credit, you need to wholesale. And even if you do, it's still a good practice to have to wholesale. Once you start in the wholesaling and you've amassed some cash, then you want to start thinking about wealth creation. So you want to think about not passing on all the deals you come across, but actually keeping some of those deals for yourself. So to hold, because you're going to grow with equity over time, and then it's going to allow you to have more debt to income ratio, so that when you get to the point where you want to graduate into multifamily, you've got all the assets you need, you have all the income that you need, and you have the cash that you need to be able to move into that arena. But yeah, I definitely recommend wholesaling. Yes, I had an accidental wholesale. When we first moved to Texas, I was taking my son to basketball practice. And I said, well, I'm just going to drive, since it was through a couple of neighborhoods, I said I was just going to drive a different way through the neighborhood to get to where he had to go for his practice. And I passed by a house, so I wrote the house down on a pad and took him to practice. And I probably had collected about 10 properties that week. And I put letters in the mail, simple yellow letters, regular envelopes, sent them out. I was at home and I got a call one evening. It was after 5:30 or so, or 6 o'clock. And it was a homeowner. And she said, hey, I got a letter from you and I wanted to know if you were still interested in buying a house. And I was like, sure, I'm interested. I was like, well, what's the address? And so she told me the address and she said, you know, it was really funny because I've got a lot of these letters in the mail. She said, but your letter was actually for the wrong house. She said, that's not, that the letter that you sent me was not my address. And so I thought that was really funny, because that is why she chose to call me, because I sent her a letter with an address that wasn't the house that belonged to her. And so when she told me what address it was, I thought that I was looking at vacant property, but she did tell me, she said that she had tenants in that property. So I said, well, okay, how long are the tenants going to be there? She said, well, the tenants are our friends. They haven't paid us rent in about 4 months. And she said, we just want to get out of the house. She said, but I'd like to give them about 60 days to find another place to stay if you want to buy it. And I said, sure. I said, what would be a good time to meet you at the property? So she said, you can meet with me and my husband. If this was a Thursday, I was going to meet them that Saturday. And so I remember going over there and meeting with them that Saturday. We were standing outside because the tenants were in the house, and I had my one-page contract with me. And I asked them what did they want for the property. I looked the property up. I comped it on Zillow, Redfin, and Realtor.com, so that I knew that the house was worth about $125,000 with all the work completed, with everything being perfect, right? So I asked them what do they want for the property, and they said $65,000. So I said, okay. So immediately I knew, well, that's a good deal. That's going to work. So I asked them, I said, would you take 60? And they was like, no, we can't take 60. And I said, okay, let's do it for 65. So I wrote the contract up right there on the trunk of my car, and I signed, and I was going to get the husband's signature. And he said, I want to take this in and have someone look at it. I did not know that he worked for a large real estate company, but he was in maintenance. So he wanted somebody to look over the contract. I didn't have a great feeling about that, because whenever you're somewhere you want to get something locked in, if time passes, sometimes it doesn't happen, if you don't get a deal locked in. So, but he called me about 2 days later. He had someone at the office look at it. They felt like the contract was good. And I was upright with them. I didn't have any notion of keeping this property or buying it myself. I was actually going to wholesale this property. So I told them, I said, based on my partners, we want to be able to inspect the house. And we had a right of rescission in the letter uh, based on inspection for about, I want to say 7 days after we got the contract signed. So I figured that'd be long enough for me to get a buyer lined up. So we got the contract signed, I got it back. So at that point, I had a vested interest in the house, because you hear people saying different things about wholesaling where you can't do this and you can't do that. Having that actual contract gives you an interest, invested interest in that property. So it's a legal interest because you have an contract in that property. So what I did, you can file notice with the probate office that you actually have this interest in the property once you get a contract. So that's what I did. And there's two things, the reason that's going to be important. One is because it allows you to be locked in as the first position to be able to purchase that property. And then people can't undercut you or go behind you to go directly to the owner to buy the property out from under you, so to speak. So once I got the seller's signed contract, I then went and started marketing the property. I went to myhousedeals.com. I added the property to the listing, and I had probably 40 people call me in 3 days about the property. So if that was the Saturday, we got the deal locked in on a Monday. This was that Wednesday, and I had already had 45 people call. The mistake I made is that I was going to have people meet me at the property on a Saturday just to maybe get a little bidding war going on, which is not the right thing to do. I did not ultimately do that, but what happened was it did garner some attention from an investor who did decide to go buy the house and say that, oh, hey, this guy's not going to buy your house, and he trash talked me. And the owner called me and she said, are you going to buy my house? I'm like, yes, I'm going to buy the house. He said, well, we had this guy come by and he said that you're not going to buy the house and all this kind of stuff. And he said, we are just concerned that, you're going to buy it. We don't care about who's going to buy it. We just want to get the deal done. So I said, no problem. We're getting the deal done. We will be closed as soon as your people find a place to live. And so with them being in the property was great because it gave us, she wanted 60 days. It actually took them 45 days to find a place to stay. But I had a buyer lined up that Wednesday. So we got the contract. I got the contract back on a Monday. I had one buyer send me a contract via email already signed for the full asking price that I was asking for. So we got it locked in at 65. I was asking 85. So I had one contract via email, but this guy was out of the country, so I wasn't sure if it was real or not. But I had one guy call me on Wednesday and he said, I want to meet you right now. He's very aggressive. He said, I want to meet right now. He said, I want to sign the deal. I want to do the deal right now. I said, well, great. I said, well, meet me. It was a Starbucks down the street from my house. I said, meet me at Starbucks and we'll get the deal done. So I get there, Starbucks is crowded. I said, well, we'll go to La Madeline, it's up the street. So we'll go in, we'll get a table. He's got a realtor with him. And we talk about the deal. I tell him how I found the deal, just like I told you guys. And he tried to get me down about 10,000. I didn't move. And I just told him direct. I said, look, I've done the valuation of this property. The property's worth $125,000 after repair value. I said, you're going to get it for 85. I said, that is plenty of room for you to do all the repairs that need to be done. I said, it's about 10,000 worth of repairs. I know that number in the house. And I think he was planning on buying it and holding it. He wasn't going to sell it again. He's wanting to buy it for rental. I said, you're getting the house with equity. It's a solid deal. So we talked a little bit more. We talked about earnest money. I think I asked for $2,500 in earnest money because this is a cash buyer. You want to be sure that they're in. You don't want them to flake out on you at the last minute. So we eventually agreed upon $1,000 for the earnest money. And so I got a check from them that day on the spot. I had the two contracts. I took those two contracts from the buyer and one from the seller, which I was selling for at the 85. If you count that, that's 25 in the middle for me, 20 in the middle for me. The seller is getting what they wanted from the property because there was some things that needed to be done with the property. It had like an old porch on the back that needed to be torn off. It had a little bit of foundation work, which, you know, anything about houses in Texas is common, but nothing major. And it needed refreshing on the inside, needed full paint on the inside and some landscape work around the outside. So they were happy with what they got. So I hear people saying, well, you're taking properties from people. If it's a win-win, if people are getting what they want, that's what they want. And if you're giving your buyer truly what they want, you're not, you know, withholding anything that you don't know about the property, they're getting what they want, it's a win-win-win. And so that's the only way that I'll do a deal, if it's a win-win-win, because I'm going to be upfront. I'm going to be honest about what I'm doing. I'm going to be honest about the transaction. I want to be transparent as possible. And the buyer knew that I was making money in between, but he had the numbers to do for him what he needed to do. So when I sent those two contracts to the title company, that's when they started doing the work and getting everything ready to close. So I probably put altogether about 2 hours in that particular deal. There were some calls from the title company where they needed certain things from the seller and certain things from the buyer, and, you know, just making a few phone calls, getting people to coordinate in that way together. That deal closed out in 45 days. They wired the paperwork to the buyer. I think the seller came into the office a day after they got the paperwork and all the signatures from the buyer. And then the title company wired me my payment that next Thursday. It was in my bank. And so that was a wholesale deal. Now, you'll ask, how much money did I tie up in that? When we signed the contract, I only paid $50 to the seller to bind the contract. And then I paid $25 for a little food gift card for the people that were living there or renting the property, so that they'd let me come in and look around. I just did that for courtesy. So $75 there. And then I paid $25 for the paperwork that I filed with the probate office for my vested interest that locked me into the deal. Now, I did end up having to pay $250 to the title company because we needed to clear the title for closing. Because once you do that, even though it locks you into the deal, it does cloud the title. And so you have to make sure the title is clear when you get ready to transfer the property. So, but they had an attorney in-house, and it just added $250 to my closing costs to get that done on the property. But yeah, about 2 hours of my time, $20,000 or so. It's a pretty good deal. It's a pretty good wholesale deal. But as you see, that's with little to no money. That's exactly how that went down. So I didn't have any financing involved. I didn't have any, you know, softwares like PropStream, or, you know, I didn't buy a bunch of leads like batch leads. This was basically driving my son to basketball practice. But, you know, you can drive for dollars. You can do it the same way. So if you want to get started today, you could go out in your neighborhood or wherever you are, find some houses where the grass has grown up, find some properties where that could be boarded up, or find property in the neighborhood that doesn't look like it's being kept up. Go to the county tax record, wherever that house is, and find out who the owner is and the owner's address. If the owner's address is different from the property, that person may be an out-of-state owner, or what we call an absentee owner. You'll want to get communication with that person. So if you don't have any skip tracing software and all this kind of stuff, you can write a letter, I'll use yellow notebook paper, write a letter. And I know this information I'm giving you is old school, but I'm giving you the way that you can do it with no money, right? You don't need money to do this. So if you have money, if you have credit, If you can pay for the resources to do it, you're that much further ahead. But if you don't have anything, I'm telling you exactly how to do this right now. So send them a letter, hand write the letter, say, hey, I'm looking for properties in this particular neighborhood. We want to buy 2 more properties. Just wanted to know if you'd be interested. Please call me at this number. Put your number on it, put it in the mail, send it off, and wait for your phone to ring. Now, if you want to try to find an email or a phone number for these people, you can skip trace them and find that information will not be in the public record. The only thing in the public record is going to be that address. So, but you can use that information to contact the people that way. And if they call you back, I'm gonna have some forms. If you get this information, you see, like and subscribe. I'm gonna have a resources tab added to where you can download forms and sales contracts for you to use in these processes. So they'll be there for you to access for your business, or if you get a deal. If you get one between now and then, just inbox me. I'll just send it to you. But yeah, that's a way for you to do it with no money. Is there better ways to do it, faster ways to do it? Yes. But if you just need to get out there and grind to make some money, that's the way you do it. Pen and a pad, and write some notes. Once you earn some money, you can email blast people. You can buy leads. You can get skip cursing software. I've used Deal Machine. I've used Lead Propeller, Prop Stream. There's new software out there, and currently, I guess I'll break this news. I'm working with some software developers now to develop resources. So there'll be resources for finding properties, and also resources for managing your inventory as well. So we'll roll those out as they come, and I'll be talking to people and making videos about those in upcoming weeks too as well, because I wanted to provide as much resources as I can to you. Yes, there's still deals out there right now. The number one thing is, when you're looking at a deal, try to find that deal, if you're wholesaling, 70%, so that you have some meat on the bone to give to your cash buyer. Okay. Once you get some money, you can keep some of those deals for yourself. If you're looking for a buy and hold, you probably move that up to 80% or 85, depending on the price. But I didn't necessarily worry about having a cash buyers list where I was in this particular market, because it is so competitive. If you have a good deal, and if you have a good deal anywhere, the cash will come. If you find it, they will come, and you can build your buyers list. I actually, off that one deal that we just talked about, I built a buyers list of about 50 people that called me and were interested in that deal. And even after the deal was gone, people called to see if I still had it. I took their information, asked them what kind of properties they were interested in, and added and built to my buyers list. Now, what I didn't say about that, what I tell you about that, is across the street that there was a neighbor. She was elderly, but she was living in her house. We ended up doing that property because she was going to move into a nursing home. So we ended up getting that property. And about 5 to 6 months later, the same lady that I bought that house from, the original house, she called and asked me, could she provide my information to one of her friends that lived in another city that's not far away. So we ended up doing that property. So off that one accidental property, we ended up moving 3 properties. And you'll find that's what happens when you're being consistent. Things will snowball and they'll start to fall for you. So if I say anything to you in closing, stay consistent, stay locked in, stay getting some good content, learn how to add to your toolbox, whether that be public speaking or learning about sales, challenging and changing your mindset, setting goals. Do all those things. Do them in repetition, do them often, do them early to save yourself time and money, and stay locked in with us. I want to see you live your dreams and live how you want to live and live free. That's what we're here to do. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. This is going to close us out. Feel free to subscribe and like our content, share our content. If you've got videos that you'd like to see or topics you'd like to have discussed, please put them in the comments. Let us know what you think. Have a good one, guys.